Okay, this video we'll be looking at tutorial 1 of the StatBlix Angular that you have done or about to do and are accessible via the Canvas site. We are going to be looking at components and the parts of a component. We're going to be looking at next the template for this application and how the application starts up. And finally, we'll be looking at router links, how you do links within the site. So first of all, on our StatBlix page, we have our 3 parts. On the left is our files, in the middle is our application code, and on the right is our view. So going back over to our left, in our app folder, I have components, and I'm going to open the add employee component. So a component has 3 parts. Here we can see the add employee component CSS, add employee component HTML, and add employee component TS. So that is the HTML file, the CSS, which is the style sheet start file, and the TS, which is the TypeScript file. Every component has those 3 files in them. An Angular application is actually made up of components. Every part of it is a component. And you can have components sitting inside other components. So your application becomes a component tree. Now, just to illustrate this, I'm going to go into the add employee TS file here. And I'm going to go down to this component part, the selector here. Now, the selector is, in effect, the name of the HTML tag for this component. If I copy that, and I go to another component, let's say the list component, and over here I'll open up the list component. And in the HTML of the list component, I will place the name of the add component as a tag. And you'll see here on the right-hand side that it actually creates the app component inside it. Now, if I get that app component, select the tag, and I copy it a couple of times, you'll see that it gets repeated a few times. So I just go here, there it is. So I've actually, just by placing the selected tag name as a tag inside another component, it replicates it. So in effect, the good thing about this is that you can get any component and put it inside of another component, and then your application, in essence, becomes a component tree. So I'll just delete all those. Go back to our initial app add employee file component, and I'm going to look at the style sheet. There's nothing in it. I'll look at the HTML, and here is the code for the HTML view. I'll actually bring that up, add employee, and it's a simple form. So here's the simple form there, and the TS file, TypeScript file for this. So the TypeScript file up the top is where you import all the library code for this component. The next part is the component decorator, and as we looked at, it has the selector, which is the name of the HTML tag for this component, and then it has the link for the HTML and the link path for the CSS file. Beneath that, we have the export class, and this is the name of your component, add employee component. And inside here is where you put all the code for your component. Most components have these 2 things, the constructor and the ng on initiate. Now I'll put a link inside tutorial 1 which gives more detail on those. So that's a component. So we have the add component, we have the list employees component, We have the login component. We have a service, which is not a component because it has employee.service. We have this component here, which is not in a folder, the app component CSS, the app component HTML, the app component TS, and we have underneath that the app module. So in essence, our application has the app 1, the login 2, the list employees 3, the add employees 4. So you have 4 components in this application. So how does this app start up? Well, like most websites, it has an index page. And in this index page, in the main, we have this selector. It's actually a selector for a component called AppRoot. And in essence, it is actually the app component. And just to be sure that if I go into the app component TS file, now remember this is called AppRoot here, and the selector, yes it does, it says AppRoot. So this is the page, this is the component that gets loaded up first. Now if I look at the HTML for this component, and here, this in essence is the template for your application. We have the top bar where we have application, yes, on the top nav. We have, and that's up there, and we have the side menu, which is the code here, there. And as we can see, we've got a login, add employee, list employees and close, links, 1, 2, 3, 4. Down the bottom, we have a footer, which is down the bottom here, which has 3 links in it. And in the middle is where all the content for the website goes. And that is, in essence, this part here. It's actually called the router outlet. Now, how this works is this. Each of these links that I click on, and let's look at the add employee here. It has this router link equals /add. Now, add is the path, and that path sits in the app module file. If I scroll here, we have the routing links, and we see the path to the add there. So that's the name in the router link. And when you click that, it will come here, find the path name, and give you this component, which is add employee component. And that's how it works. So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to create a component and put in the links and everything into it. So I'm going to go to the app folder, right click, go to app generator, create a component, give it a name called data binding, enter. And here we have a folder, which is a component, which are 3 files, HTML, CSS, and TS. If I open up a TS TypeScript file, here in the export class is the name of our component, data binding component. Here in our selector is called app-data binding. Now, what I want to do, I want that to appear in our side menu. So I'm going to go to our app component HTML. I'm just going to copy one of these links that are already there and paste it in again. I'm going to give it a name, data binding, and have a look. And there it is. If I click it, it still goes to employees because in the data binding link I put in, the router link still goes to add. I need to create a new one, which goes to our data binding page. So I go to the app module. Here's the paths. I'm just going to copy one of these paths, paste it underneath, give the path name, and I'll call it data binding. And it goes to the component. Now the component name for our data binding is in our TS file. There it is, data binding component. I copy that, come back to our app component HTML, our app module TS, and the path is data binding. The component is, save that. I now go to our menu, click on data binding, and it doesn't go to that. Why is that? Because in our app component page, we didn't put in the router link, which is our new router link, which is called data binding. See? So I'll just put that in, data binding. Save it. So that's the path. Click data binding, and there we go to our page. All right. In this video, we looked at data binding, components and the three parts of a component, which is the HTML, CSS, and TS file. We looked at how the app started, which is from the app root selector, and the HTML, which was the template for the website. And we added and we looked at how router links work. Links, where you must add in the router link with its path in the link that you're clicking on, and you have to add that to the app module route paths, and you have to add your path in. So that's it. I hope that's okay. Make sure you do all of tutorial 1, and you can either watch this video before or after you do it. Thank you.